strike, strike, and strike again. But how about the Jackson State Tigers? Two passionate fan bases collide. A night game under the lights at Bragg Memorial Stadium in Tallahassee. The defending HBCU national champion Jackson State Tigers in the capital city for the first time in 7 years. There's a lot at stake at this one. Gut check time for both teams. Florida A&M trying to keep their postseason hopes alive, along with Jackson State, because Alabama State took down an undefeated Prairie View team earlier today. They are tied atop of the SWAC East standings, along with Bethune-Cookman. What's up, fam? We welcome you in with the Florida State national champion Forrest Connolly. I'm Tiffany Green, and we don't need to sugarcoat it. How big is tonight's game?
This game is huge. It's a battle of the bands, a battle in the stands, a battle of the fans, and also a great football game. And for Florida A&M, they've got to win. They've got to have some things happen outside of their control. For Jackson State, just win, baby. If they do that, they'll be in the championship football game. All
right, Forrest, with the 1 and 2s, with the rhymes kicking with you. Now, talking about Jackson State, well, this team coming in off the loss to Grambling last week. They also are without the services of their starting QB, Jacobian Morgan. He injured his left foot. No worries, though, because the Tigers have the second best rushing attack in all of FCS.
And you talk about a rushing attack. I talked to the coaching staff, and when we asked Coach Hill, I said, hey, do you have a bell cow? He said, no, I have a bell stable. And you look at all of those backs, and they are the type of team that makes you worry because you don't know who to concentrate on because there's so many weapons.
Travis Terrell, Denario Davenport, or Ahmad Miller. And then on the defensive side, you've got Quincy Ivory, a guy who's got to be in the conversation for SWAC Defensive Player of the Year.
And also in the conversation for Sunday football player. This guy plays with great bend. He gets around the edge. He is an offensive tackle's nightmare out on an island, and it'll be interesting to see how FAMU schemes to try and stop him and slow him down.
We're talking about the Rattlers. James Colsey III saw his team get off to a slow start, but the light bulb has turned on in the last 2 games. They picked up dubs.
Well, you talk about 305 yards on average passing in those football games. They have done a good job of finding their way and getting in that winning tradition of Florida A&M football. It'll be interesting to see, can they keep that up against this tough Jackson State defense?
Jamal Haley, who has been a spark for the Rattlers, his rushing attack, and R.J. Johnson III also doing an outstanding job taking care of the football.
Well, they play off of one another. When Haley's able to get going with that rushing attack, it allows for that play-action game with Johnson. And think about this. Johnson has no turnovers. He hasn't thrown an interception, and Florida A&M has not lost a fumble this season. That'll be key in this game. No turnovers.
As we welcome you in to Ken O'Reilly Field, let's listen in to the national anthem. Under the direction of Dr. Shelby Chipman, the Marching 100, along with several high school bands delivering the national anthem here, and what is an outstanding night for football. Fall weather, 63 degrees, clear skies, as Jackson State runs onto the field. This crew coming in at 5-2 overall, and there's T.C. Taylor, the head man at his alma mater, leading the way for his Tigers.
You know, another interesting caveat about this game, Tiffany, is this is senior night for Florida A&M, so you've got some guys that are playing their last ever game here at Bragg Stadium, so you know the energy is going to be palpable on that side of the field as well.
And anytime these two teams meet, it is always an entertaining matchup. Florida A&M joining the SWAC starting in that 2021 season, and they have quickly gone head-to-head and become rivals with Jackson State out of Jackson, Mississippi. And oh yeah, the sonic boom of the South is in the house. I'm trying to play off of you for us real quick, you know, house, you know. All right, come on. When you look over just what this rivalry has developed into over the years. You know, Jackson State or Florida A&M, the winner of this game has gone on to win the SWAC championship since 2021. And they both find themselves controlling their own destiny. Florida A&M needing a little bit more help as the lights go out here at Bragg Memorial Stadium.
You have to think as well, the last two national champions, black college national champions, have come from this football game.
The series history between the two, Jackson State leads it overall. Their last meeting, Jackson State won at the Vet. And they also won the last time they were here in Tallahassee back in 2018. And don't you just love it, Forrest, this long, dramatic run out and roll out for senior day here at Florida A&M University, and understanding how important tonight's game is. This is the last home game, playing 7 straight since October 18th. This is game 3 of that stretch. James Colsey III talking about, hey, we've got to make sure we button up, protect home before we hit the road.
And you know what it also does? It bothers Jackson State. They're already out on the field. It's kind of irritating to them, and you want to do that. You want to get in their heads. You want them to think about anything about this football game. You want them to be frustrated. So I love what they're doing right now to the opposing team.
Now, we were set for a 7:02 kick for us. Instead, it continues to drag on a little bit, and they've got to play the hype video inside the stadium.
Hey, it's senior night. It's the last one of the year. They're going to drag it out, make it long.
Well, Florida A&M coming off of a couple of wins at home, coming against Alcorn State a couple of weeks ago, and then went on the road to Baton Rouge to take down Southern. And so they find themselves at 3-4 overall. But James Colsey III says, don't let that record fool you. We're playing very good football. And T.C. Taylor told us earlier this week, we know that.
And that's the thing. When you look at Jackson State, I think the one detriment that they have coming into this game is the back end of their defense, and that's where Florida A&M excels in the passing game. The last 2 games, we said it earlier, they're averaging 305 yards passing. If they can block those front 4 and control the line of scrimmage with their offensive line, I think they'll have some opportunities with that pass game on the outside and getting vertical against this Jackson State defense.
And here they come, the Rattlers of Florida A&M. The fireworks inside the stadium, leaving orange and green into the air. Second-year head man, James Colsey III, ready to do battle with his guys against Jackson State University. Colsey, who won a national championship with you, partner at Florida State, delivering the Seminoles their first title in 1993. And now he's looking to deliver some more success here for Florida A&M, part of that 2023 Celebration Bowl National Championship staff under then head coach Willie Simmons.
And you know what, Tiffany, the one thing I like about this part of the year is everybody has an identity. They know what the assignment is. You know, both Florida A&M and Jackson State both know what their assignment is. You've got to win out. For Jackson State, you win out. You place yourself in the SWAC championship game. For Florida A&M, you win out. And something happens on the other side with Alabama State. If they're able to lose another game, you put yourselves in a position to play for a conference championship. So I love this part of it because, hey, there are no excuses. There's no, okay, well, maybe we can get it done next week. You got to get it done now.
And the captains meet at midfield for the coin toss. And a good contingency from Jackson State. You see those blue and white pom-poms shaking in the crowd. And you know the I love is around. There it is. They're trying to simulate some of what they do in the vet here in Bragg. In this conference, known for their great fan base, Jackson State travels very well as the Southwestern Athletic Conference leading all conferences in FCS in attendance year in and year out. Preston Clipper standing on the Rattler head. He's our head referee for today for this SWAC officiating crew. All right, as we prepare for kickoff, your keys to today's game.
Well, for Florida A&M, you've got to confuse the young quarterback, lean on your run game, ride momentum and control the clock. And for Jackson State, you've got to win the line of scrimmage, and you've got to lean on that run game as well and be a disciplined football team. Jackson State comes into this game averaging over 87 yards and penalties per game. That leads the FCS. They've got to do a better job. They've got to play, disciplined football. If they give up those penalties, that allows to keep FAMU in the game. FAMU wants to control the clock, keep that powerful Jackson State offense off of the field. So they want to get that run game going. They want to get that pass game going. But for Jackson State, we know their identity is hitting you in the mouth, playing square chin football. They've got a young quarterback. You don't want to put too much on him. So if that run game can get going, now you allow him to be comfortable and allow him to continue to develop. Now, I am excited about the young man because he's 6'5". He's got a rocket for an arm, and they seem really, really confident in his ability. And they talked about trying to hide him with that red shirt, but they're not going to be able to now. And I think we're going to see something exciting from that young man this evening.
Well, Jackson State won the toss. They elect to defer, so Florida A&M will receive the kickoff first. Going left to right on your screen, Jamal Haley stands back and awaits the kick from Simon Naylor, the freshman out of Madison, Mississippi. And here we go. Snap fumble picked up by the Rattlers, but it is down where it was bobbled and dropped at the 10. So Florida A&M, that's where they will start their opening possession on their own 10-yard line. And R.J. Johnson III, the redshirt sophomore out of Atlanta, Georgia, getting his first season to start in college football. And when we talked with James Colsey III, he really liked the development of this young man and the way that he has grown. And you pointed out earlier for us about the way he's taken care of the football.
And he's becoming more and more consistent with the repetitions that he gets. And that'll be key for this ball club, his consistency.
Three wide receivers to the bottom of your screen. The handoff initially, and trying to run through some traffic. And that's Thad Franklin Jr. Glad to have the services of Franklin back. He got banged up last week in that game against Southern.
And the big key for Florida A&M on the front is going to be can they control Jeremiah Williams, number 0. He is kind of the bell cow of that defensive line. He's the one that clogs everything up, occupies space, occupies linemen, and allows those linebackers to flow downhill.
The play action rolling out to his right, has a man, and it's dropped in and out of the hands of Jamar Taylor. He was trying to hit him on that crossing route on the run. Cam Salas on the coverage.
And a good job by Johnson escaping the pocket, allowing himself the extra time that he needed. You've got Taylor coming across. Taylor's got to squeeze that football. You've got to help your quarterback out. You ran the route the right way it was supposed to be ran, but you've got to squeeze the football, get control of that, and bring it to your chest.
Third down conversions, 44% on the year for Florida A&M. They've got to get to the 20-yard line in order to convert. Johnson saw the pressure, unloads, and the pass is incomplete. Goldie Lawrence was the intended target, and right there with him was KJ Chisholm.
And one of the things that surprised me on that play is he had 3 wides to the right. He had layered route concepts going on the right side of the field. I thought that was maybe where he had an opportunity, or the quick pass on the out to Thad Franklin. You've got to get it out to him immediately. You've got Franklin out in the flat, one-on-one with the linebacker. That's a favorable matchup. So I think, you know, making quicker decisions is something that the coaching staff will talk to him when he comes to the sideline.
Bobby Inksler, the redshirt freshman out of the capital city here in Florida, Tallahassee, from his own end zone, punts it away. It rolls into Tiger territory as Travis Terrell Jr. letting it roll, and it's going to be down at about the 40-yard line. So a 48-yard punt and good starting field position for Jackson State. You talked about the red shirts, or the true freshman quarterback in Jarrett Lockhart. Second start of the season for Lockhart. You see back on September 13th, has an excellent game against Division II Tuskegee. Saw action last week as well, and here T.C. Taylor says he's going with the young arm. On the carry, Ahmad Miller trying to get to the outside, tackled and brought down by the Rattlers. Well, Ahmad Miller is a guy who you want to keep your eye on, because you talked about the dangerous backfield that the Tigers have. He leads the way for the Tigers coming into today's game. Lockhart overthrows his man, and you see a flag come out late as Kobe Paul was trying to run that route. Maybe a piece was held up of Kobe Paul. Pass interference by the Rattlers.
Pass interference, defense, number 19, 15-yard penalty. That comes with an automatic first down.
That going against the rover in this defense, Amari Lee.
You see right here, you got contact past the 5-yard window. And think about it, what Florida A&M wants to do, they want to be physical with these receivers, but you've got to get up on the line of scrimmage and be physical with them at the line of scrimmage. You can't be that deep and try to get physical and get hands on the receiver.
Lockhart, patient with time, throws and connects. So good looking throw there from Lockhart, standing tall in the pocket, finds Jinsey Riley, the tight end.
And a great pocket by the offensive line. Lockhart's able to kind of step up in the pocket, climb the pocket a little bit. He surveys the field. He finds what he wants, and he gets the ball down the field. The offensive line so far has done a good job of blocking and giving him time, as well as opening up lanes for these backs.
From the 30 of Florida A&M, Ahmad Miller goes to the perimeter on that outside run, picks up 6 yards.
And right now, Florida A&M is not doing a good job of maintaining the edges. You've got to keep that edge. You cannot come downhill crashing, trying to make the big play. Being gap sound, staying in your gaps, not giving up your gap, trying to make the big play.
On 2nd and 4, Lockhart looking for the end zone. He's flushed out using his legs, and Jared Lockhart picks up the first down and more. He's inside the red zone for the first time tonight on their opening possession. Nayron Jenkins runs him out of bounds.
And that's the dangers right there of not being gap sound on the edge. When you get caught up in not keeping and maintaining that edge, you've got an elusive quarterback in Lockhart that can get around that edge and get the first down. Once again, Florida A&M has to do a good job of keeping those edges.
On the carry, there's Ahmad Miller once again. Cameron Donald in on the stop, along with Chase Lloyd. Well, pretty automatic here for Jackson State when they get in the red zone, especially over the last 3 games. 14 of 16. They've scored 10 touchdowns and had 4 field goals in that 3-game stretch. Tigers looking to get on the board first. Lockhart looks, runs, keeps it himself, fumbles the football. And Jameel Gardner along with Amari Lee, and Amari Lee comes up with it. Florida A&M football.
Result of the play is a turnover.
And that's the big play that Florida A&M needed on defense. The quarterback is not used to running the football, so he's not holding it high and tight like backs are taught to do. A good job by the Florida A&M defender to get his hand in there and knock that ball out, and a better job by his teammate to find the ball and cover it up, because you did have a Jackson State player going over there to try and get on top of that football. Big play for Florida A&M.
Second red zone turnover of the season for Jackson State. And how about Amari Lee, after that pass interference, redeems himself, comes up with a fumble recovery. Rattler football when we return. Marching down the field, and then Jared Lockhart with a fumble here. Let's take another look, Forrest.
Well, watch out. Lockhart gets in the open field, but you see him holding the ball out like a loaf of bread, and Nayron Jenkins does a good job of punching the ball out exactly how linebackers are taught. Once again, when you're a quarterback, you're not used to running the football in traffic. You have to keep that ball high and tight, especially when you're that close, because you got defenders coming from all parts of the field. And a good job right there by Nayron Jenkins to knock it out, and a better job by Amari Lee to make up for that pass interference by covering up that football and giving the ball back to his offense.
Now, if you are on the Jackson State sideline, what do you say to Jared Lockhart?
High and tight. Remember, you are our starting quarterback now. You cannot, this is not high school anymore.
False start, offense, number 54 and number 89. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
You have to remember, this is a true freshman. You know, and you know, he's in a big-time football game here. But right there, you cannot have that. You know, you've got two linemen, you know, linemen and a tight end. You know the snap count. So you should not be jumping off sides, especially with the ball as close to the goal line as it is. But back to that, I'm just telling my quarterback, hey, it happened. You can't worry about it. You can't do anything about it, but get better and learn from it.
Meanwhile, R.J. Johnson III, who's standing in his own end zone in the A of Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, and that is just a sneak out, just an inch of breath on the run there.
And Tiffany, this is where you need to go to old school football and get under center. You know, I talked earlier about Jeremiah Williams and his ability to disrupt, and you see right there, he's disrupting, getting in the backfield. You've got to get under center. You've got to get a quarterback sneak. I don't like the shotgun. I don't like having my back offset. You're 5 yards deep into the end zone right now, allowing them to possibly get pushed up the field.
And R.J. Johnson keeps it himself. And again, not much room to run. Stood up by and met by Reed Pulliam and a few other white jerseys. Third down here. Ball spotted at the 1 yard line of Florida A&M.
And now your focus is getting room for your punter at this point, because you have not gotten any yards on your first 2 plays. I don't like trying to stretch it when you got everybody up in the box close to the line of scrimmage. Once again, this defense is too fast, too aggressive, too upfield to try and stretch it when you're that close to your own end zone.
Watch out for big number 6, Quincy Ivory, in white to the top of your screen. Catches it in the end zone, got to get out, barely lunging out as KJ Chisholm makes the tackle. 3 consecutive plays and no yards in that possession for Florida A&M.
Well, you went with the play action on that play, and I thought if you were going to do play action, the first play should have been a play action pass. This play right here, it's very obvious that it's going to be play action. You see everyone coming up. Everybody's inside the box. So this is a dangerous play once again, because you're going with the bubble screen. You've got the receiver kind of looping back in to get that football. He's got to make sure he's got possession and then make sure he's out of the end zone.
Great eye discipline and stand for Torenzo Quinn's defense. Punting out of his own end zone again is Bobby Inksler, and the dangerous return man doesn't even have to do anything with it. It takes an unfortunate bounce for Florida A&M and sets up great field position once again for the Tigers, this time inside of Rattler territory. Years in existence is Jackson State. The first play from scrimmage on this drive, and Travis Terrell goes backwards, a loss of 1 on that run. But out of the capital city of Jackson, Mississippi, greater than 6,300 students, 4 Pro Football Hall of Famers, and obviously you know the names very well. Sweetness was one of them, as Jared Lockhart stays alive, keeps his eyes down the field, and pass complete to Kobe Paul.
And he was extremely close to the line of scrimmage on that play. A portion of his body was still behind the line of scrimmage, which allowed that to be a good forward pass. But he was very close, but a good job of keeping his eyes down the field, something you don't usually see with a young quarterback.
Big chunk play, 20 yards, sets them up at the 10-yard line, back in the red zone. Let's see if the Tigers can capitalize here, as Denario Davenport, who came off an excellent weekend against Grambling, led the team with 98 yards, averaged about 9 yards per carry against the Tigers out of Louisiana last week.
And you see the dangers of playing against a quarterback like Jared Lockhart, because he's been able to run the ball effectively. When he starts to run, those linebackers have to react, opening up lanes for those receivers with the underneath routes. So you have to decipher, is he climbing the pocket or is he actually running the football?
And late to get their personnel onto the field, as some confusion here, and a timeout is spent.
Timeout, Jackson State. Their first charge, timeout of the half. 30 seconds, 30-second timeout.
Well, you saw one player run on, and then it was like, wait a minute, there's another one that needs to come on, then Florida A&M sub late as well.
And what's interesting about that is Jackson State had to use a timeout because they had such a late substitution. It allows for Florida A&M to have a substitution, so the clock is running down, so they had to use one of their timeouts or risk getting a penalty. So that was smart for Florida A&M, whether they wanted to bring in someone or not, to make that clock go down. So kind of, a little mind game going on right there.
Well, T.C. Taylor, who helped deliver national championship back to Jackson, 5th overall for the program. He's grown his own garden with high school guys, was portal heavy the first year, had a big turnover, and now a nice balance in this group in the 2025 version here. On 2nd and goal, Travis Terrell, and he's touched by Jason Riles, the striker, linebacker. Loss of 2, so again, keeping Terrell at bay.
And Browse did a good job of navigating the traffic, finding the seam to get up the field, avoiding those blockers, trying to get to the second level and get a body on the body. That's what you have to do if you're Browse. You have to realize and recognize you're a better athlete than those offensive linemen. You've got to get skinny, get slippery, and get up the field.
Let's see what Kenwick Thompson and his defense can come up with for Florida A&M. And the pressure, as in the face was Nicholas Demetrius of the quarterback, thrown off the mark. Denario Davenport couldn't get to it, and it's 4th and goal, so the kicking unit comes on. And another strong stand here, as you see Demetrius, big number 0 in green.
A good job of bending but not breaking by the Florida A&M defense. You gave up the big play on the pass play, the chunk play, but you were able to bend and not break and force the field goal attempt.
Gerardo Beza from 24 yards out to try to get the Tigers on the board. It's up and it's through. So Jackson State breaks through the scoreboard first with a field goal. And Gerardo Beza gets the congratulations afterward. 5th made field goal of the season, and his team up 3-0. Here in Tallahassee, Florida, founded in 1887, 10,000 strong for this land-grant institution in the state of Florida. Marva Johnson, the president, and this name of the field, Ken Riley Field. There's one of the 2 Hall of Famers, and there's James Colsey III leading the Rattlers. Remember, he went 7-5 last year, 2nd in the SWAC East. He knew those expectations were good, but not good enough for Florida A&M, and he's looking to turn things around, keep his team in the hunt here. And Forrest, from what you've known of him as a former teammate, what can you tell America about James Colsey III?
He's a tough guy. He's not going to quit. He has always battled against the odds. When he came to Florida State, he was one of the 2 smaller players that came in the class of '93, but he was one of 4 people that did not get redshirted. Him, Warwick Dunn, Pooh Bear Williams and Renard Wilson were the 4 guys in that class that did not get redshirted because of his playmaking ability, his belief in what he would be able and capable of doing. And you see that with this ball club. It didn't start out well for this FAMU ball club this season. They were behind the 8 ball, but the last 2 games they've gotten back on track, starting with that big homecoming win, the big win last week, the comeback win, 21 points in the 4th quarter. So they believe that they have everything that they need to be successful, but they've got to continue to keep pushing. I like what I saw from the defense. They bend but not break on that last series and not giving up but 3 points when they were in the shadow of their own end zone. So let's see if they can continue to follow his lead and, try and get a win this evening.
They'll start this drive from their own 25-yard line. R.J. Johnson III hands it off to Thad Franklin. A piece of that face mask along that run, and a flag comes out to confirm it.
Personal foul, face mask on the defense, number 94. That 15-yard penalty will be added to the end of the run. First down.
So Stanley Cooks the second got a piece of the face mask, 10-yard run plus the penalty here.
And you see the strength of Thad Franklin right there. You see the face mask, his helmet is almost pulled off, but he's able to pull away from that and get an additional 8 yards. And I think this is what you need to see from the Florida A&M offense. Get your big power back Franklin going. He's a volume carrier, 6'1", 225 pounds. Allow him to continue to beat up and pound on this defense.
From the 50-yard line, the jet sweep there to Kenari Wilcher, and Wilcher with a solid gain of about 7 or 8.
And a good job by Florida A&M stretching this defense, stressing those edges, getting to the outside. That's what you want to do. You want to get this defense running left and right, then get going downhill. A good job by those offensive linemen. You see number 62, Charles Davis, number 63, Ricky Taylor, getting up to those second-level defenders, covering them up. That's what you want to see from your interior linemen.
Those are the meaty guys, along with Ashton Grable, that this coaching staff raves about their leadership, experience. And here on 2nd and 3, it's Thad Franklin Jr. out of Winter Park, Florida, the senior who is just so strong. He's got that great combination of balance and body control. Pickup of 8 and a first down.
And that's what I'm talking about right there, ladies and gentlemen. Grown man football by Thad Franklin Jr. If you come up there and you're running high, I'm going to put my shoulder pad down and boom, run over you. And you see right there, the Jackson State ball player, Ashton Taylor, you came in high. Young fella, you got to get low because the big fella's coming through.
He gets a breather, and Jamal Haley, who we talked about in the open, who has been the spark plug the last couple of weeks, is in now. R.J. Johnson goes deep, has a man, and it gets a piece of Kenari Wilcher. Just a little confusion there, and Johnson wants that one back.
And he had what he wanted. They went with the play action. They've been running the ball successfully. The linebackers got caught looking inside. You've just got to put it over the opposite shoulder. Shamar Hawkins got caught looking inside, and you saw the receiver turning the opposite way. Rogers trying to find the football. If he throws it over, Wilcher, if he throws it over the right shoulder, you might be celebrating a touchdown right now.
2nd and 10. Good hands by Jamal Haley, and Ashton Taylor was the first to get to him.
And that's an extension of the run game, getting the ball out to your receiver in the flat. But Miles Campbell and Jalen Rogers, you've got to do a better job blocking on the perimeter. Help your guy out. If you get those blocks out there, you've given him a lane to get up the field, north and south. Everybody's got to do their 111th.
22 of 32 last week for 287 yards and a touchdown was R.J. Johnson III in that win against Southern a week ago. Now he's facing 3rd and 9. The Rattlers looking to convert. Johnson feels the pressure, steps up, and he's brought down.
And they're playing one high safety And Johnson had an opportunity. He had Jalen Rogers coming across on the crossing route. There's no one there. You've got to get rid of the football. If he gets it to number one, he has an opportunity to turn up the field and get at least 20 yards. But you see the quick read. You've got to be able to see that. There's nobody in the middle. See right there, you've got number one, Jalen Rogers right there, coming across the field. Get it to him. There's nobody there. He will be able to turn up the field and not only get the first down, but probably get an additional 10 to 15 yards.
Well, credit Kanye Varner, the senior out of Jonesboro, Georgia, who made that play, loss of 2. So now Inksler on once again. His third punt as they take the delay of game to back them up.
Delay game.
5 extra yards.
Offense. Number 38. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
So just a little bit more room to try to pin Jackson State deep inside their own territory.
And I've never liked taking those penalties. I mean, what does 5 yards do? I mean, I get I understand the logic, but I don't understand the logic.
When you see a little bit more field, you feel like you can angle it a little bit better or approach it.
I guess.
Give
I'm not
yourself
a punter.
a little leeway.
I'm thinking from a lineman's perspective, I guess.
Inksler gives that one a chance, and the extra real estate help right there inside the 5 for us.
I concede. Those 5 yards did help.
Out at the 3-yard line. So successful for James Colsey III and his special teams unit as Bobby Inksler does his job.
And a good job of flipping the field. Ball is out on the, look like the 3.5-yard line. Now, defensively, they have to be careful. You want to keep everything in front of you. Everybody's going to be close inside the box. So if a runner is able to get to the second level, there's not going to be defenders there.
The rush by Ahmad Miller, and Miller gets out to the 10-yard line after a gain of 7.
And you see Jackson State going with tempo. They're lining up on the football. They don't want to allow Florida A&M to get any substitutions in the game. Once again, they've got to be careful with their defense. You've got a lot of people down in the box.
Riley goes in motion. That right side, giving a little extra girth there, and that's the way that Ahmad Miller goes. But what a defensive stop there. Good play by Antonio Kamen. Kamen out of Tampa, Florida, transferred in from Pitt.
Excellent job.
Corey Collier Jr.
Excellent job of getting up there and making the tackle. That is what you have to do. Attack the back's legs. You can't attack high because that's when you'll get shook. A good job of attacking the legs, the lower body of those backs.
So that tackle by Corey Collier Jr. sets up 3rd and 1. And the second best rushing team in FCS able to notch that 1 yard needed. Collier once again with the tackle.
And that's the dangers. Once again, if Collier does not make that tackle, there are no other defenders. So FAMU has got to be careful. You've got to get pushed at the point of attack, but the linebackers have to stay home and get good run fits. Make sure you play gap sound football.
Lockhart stepping up. The defender falls down, has a man wide open, and just overthrows Janalen Dupree. That had 6 written all over it. He got behind the defender. He was there for the taking. That's the second time we've seen Jared Lockhart miss on one of those deep throws.
And they've got the matchup that they want. Dupree on Collier. Collier, the rover back, is not who you want if you're Florida A&M covering one of their speed vertical receivers.
Lockhart, play action. Quick, Nate Rimbert. And Rimbert with his first reception of the game, brought down by Jalik Thomas. So it's going to bring up 3rd and short. I'm going to say about 4 yards. They got to get to the 30-yard line. Under a minute and a half to go in this opening quarter. These teams control their own destiny, especially for Jackson State wanting to stay in the hunt in the SWAC East. And they hand it off. And there's Denario Davenport. Got plenty of blocking and more. He's dragging Nayron Jenkins with them into Rattler territory. And what an impressive run by Denario Davenport. But give it up for that O-line as well.
And I want you to watch number 56 on this play, Brian Williams, big fella to the left guard. That's what you're looking for. You want to see your big guy get up front, knock some people around, get your big body out there, be a shield for your back. That's what I love to see when I see my big lineman getting down the field, leading the way.
Yeah, you were a lineman yourself, so you love to see the dudes up front. They give it to number 10 in white, Davenport, once again after that big 33-yard run. And this is kind of what we expected to see from Jackson State. Them being able to control the line of scrimmage, run the football well.
One of the more interesting comments from Coach Taylor, when I asked him, I said, Coach, you know, is there a player or players that present the challenge to you where you feel like you got to get a hat on a hat because of their ability to disrupt what you want to do offensively? And he said no. He said there's nobody on the FAMU defense that scares them from an offensive perspective. And, you know, in my 14 years of calling football games, I've never had a coach say that. So the confidence that he has in this offensive line and this football team to run the football, you see it oozing out of him when you talk to him. And you see it oozing out of this team as they continue to get that run game going.
Well, a battle here in Tallahassee. The 20th ranked Jackson State Tigers put up a field goal in this one. That's where we find ourselves, a 3-0 ball game from Bragg Memorial Stadium. A SWAC East showdown between a couple of blue bloods. We're done after one. Let's see how it happens in the second quarter.
Hey, should we?
Defensively has stood up strong. What have you liked about that unit's effort?
We talked about being bend but break, right? Bend but break, you know, and trying to keep the ball in front of us. We know they got a young guy in there, so we're trying not to make it, you know, trying not to give up any big plays. But right now, big down for us. Third down's kind of been an issue for us all season, so we'll see what we can do here.
Well, Coach, Thad Franklin got going on that last drive with some power runs. Is that something you look to do with him moving forward, getting him the ball more and getting him some more volume carries?
Well, regardless of what quarterback's playing for them, man, we got to be able to run the ball to keep this offense, you know, on the sideline. So, you know, we had an opportunity right there. I thought if we would have got a few more yards on that third down play, I would have tried to kick a field goal, but I thought that this was too long. You know, we did a good job of pinning them deep. But right now, third down, got to get off the field. But for us to be successful, Thad Franklin has to get 100 yards. So if we continue to do that, he'll be able to do that.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Yeah,
we appreciate the time. So the defensive unit, bend but don't break. You heard it there from James Coley III. Forrest, you already said that earlier in tonight's broadcast. 3rd and 6, a big one here. Going for it deep once again. Tough throw between a couple of defenders, and Janalen Dupree unable to come up with it. Jalik Thomas was pumped up after that stop.
Offense, number 65. That penalty is declined. Brings up 4th down.
So they declined the penalty, and Forrest, once again, another big stand for the defense for Florida A&M.
And a couple of things on that play. You've got 3rd and 8, and you've got a young quarterback, and he's going for it all. They had coverage on the back end. I thought he had an opportunity with Kobe Paul on the short crossing route. The safety was deep. He had room to get up the field and get the first down. But that's the young quarterback, once again, not having the recognition that you would probably have more so with Morgan in the football game. So Florida A&M is continuing to take advantage of that. What they have to be careful of is if the young man starts to read these defenses and take what the defense is giving him, he's got some opportunities for some big plays. But I thought he missed one right there again with Kobe Paul on the short crossing route.
Donovan Warren, first punt of the night for Jackson State. Fair caught inside the 10 by Jalen Rogers. We talked about Jacobian Morgan, the starting QB for Jackson State, out for tonight's game after being injured in the first quarter of Grambling State last week. So now they rely on the freshman to get it done. And let's go back to that big classic in Vegas. For the first time, it was the Tigers of Jackson State going against Grambling State. And you see there after that throw, Morgan comes up hobbling, goes into the tent, and then is in street clothes the remainder of the way on crutches and a boot on that left foot. Now that's a guy who's got more than 5,000 career passing yards, the SWAC preseason player of the year. He did travel with the team, so he is looking on. Here, Florida A&M trying to get something going, and Jamal Haley with not much room to run. There was Ja'Cory Hargan on the stop. Now, Forrest, a couple of changes to the assistant coaches, new coordinators in Cedric Williams and Henry Burris, the co-offensive coordinators. 25 yards gained in that first quarter. What do they need to do to shift things around?
They need to figure out what their identity is. Is their identity going to be running between the tackles, or are they going to try and get to the edges? I think the best thing for them right now to be doing is attacking the interior of this offense. Of this defense.
Jackson State.
We know that Jeremiah Williams, number 0, is their bell cow on the defensive line, but I think you've got to tandem block him with your guard and your center and try and climb up to those second-level defenders.
All right, full timeout, second of the half taken by Jackson State. We'll step aside here as well from Tallahassee. As Jackson State with a 3-0 lead over Florida A&M. The Rattlers trying to keep their SWAC postseason hopes alive and try to stay in the hunt for that SWAC East Division. It's equally as important for Jackson State as well. Here on 2nd and 9 from the FAMU 8-yard line. R.J. Johnson, the third, has time, delivers it. Haley tries to make a move, slips, and Reed Pulliam is there to make the stop. No gain on the play, so it's going to bring up 3rd down. And Haley just lost his footing there. The redshirt junior who began his career at Western Michigan. Originally from Benton Harbor, Michigan. And he's a guy that Jackson State said they needed to keep their eye on. They're trying to get him involved somehow, some way. Florida A&M looking to convert their first 3rd down of the night. So far, 0 for 3. Underneath, trying to do something with it is Kenari Wilcher, and does. And he's going to be short of the 1st down marker. And so the punting unit will trot onto the field once again.
And that was a great effort by Wilcher right there. If he's able to keep his feet, I think he has enough space in front of him to possibly be able to get that 1st down. He had Jamar Taylor, number 13, out there blocking on the perimeter, and that would have been the block that he needed to get past the sticks to extend that drive.
Well, Bobby Inksler, who has been busy tonight, 4th punt, 3rd from his end zone so far in this game, and giving Travis Terrell plenty to try to chase down. He bobbles it. It goes out of bounds, and Rattlers can't get to it in time. Very fortunate for Jackson State.
And what's interesting is he bobbled the punt, but he didn't go after it. He was real sure that that punt was going to go out of bounds. I would have been a little bit more aggressive in going after that football. Maybe he feels like it didn't touch him, but I still would have been a little bit more aggressive as opposed to watching that ball.
So a 60-yard punt from Inksler, and T.C. Taylor, who's seen his offense so far with 20 plays, 122 yards in this one. Want to get them some more rhythm going. They've had success on the ground, 86 yards, and they go back to that ground attack. That's Travis Terrell Jr., who doubles not only as a specialist, but also a part of that stable of running backs.
And a good job by Cameron Donald, number 90. He's done a good job of getting up the field penetration. He may not be making the tackles, but he's disrupting the running lanes and allowing for his teammates to get there and make those tackles.
Right there to stick Jarrett Lockhart. And there's number 55, Amari Williams, who was there, and coming to clean things up along the way was Amari Lee.
And once again, a good job by the interior defensive line, getting pressure, getting up the field. A great move right here, not being fooled, playing gap sound football, keeping that edge, not getting sucked down through the ball fake, but staying with the quarterback and allowing his teammate to come and clean it up.
Ricochets, nearly intercepted. That went through a couple of iterations, through the hands of the receiver, deflected off of a defender, and almost brought in by the Rattlers. And right now, defensive coordinator Kenwick Thompson has to be thrilled with the way his defense is playing.
Well, they are getting in the young quarterback's head, and they're doing a good job of showing him something pre-snap, but shifting into something else post-snap. That's what you want to do with a young quarterback. You want to make him think, start to affect him, and they're doing a good job of affecting him and having defensive players where he does not think they're going to be.
Second straight punt for Jackson State. And just letting that one roll out is Jalen Rogers. So a tight ball game here as Jackson State leads by a field goal here with 11:06 remaining in the second quarter. Of the night after starts at the 10, the 2, the 25, and their own 7-yard line. Finally, they get a ball placed at the 35-yard line. So can they take advantage of this? And you know what, Forrest, before you answer this question, we talked about the bands. Let's listen in for a second. What does that song take you back to?
I can't remember, but I like it.
Doing the...
You're doing the EU school days. Yes, sir. See, I don't get that over there with the Martian Chiefs, so I have to enjoy it when I get it.
The handoff to Thad Franklin Jr. and a gain of about 2 on the play. But let me go back to that question of how they can take advantage of their best starting field possession of the night.
Well, I think you've got to do the unexpected. When they expect you to run the ball, you've got to try and get the ball over the top. When they expect you to throw the ball, you've got to run the ball. One of the things that you do against an aggressive up-the-field defense is get the screen game going. We haven't seen a screen pass this afternoon. You know, you've got some steady backs, some guys, if they get the ball in the open field, they can make plays for you. Help your quarterback out a little bit. You know, I think you've got to make the game easier for him.
Shift from Campbell. On the snap, R.J. Johnson steps up, has plenty of room up the middle and wisely slides. And R.J. Johnson took what the defense gave him and made good.
Great read. What Johnson saw is they were in man coverage. Everybody had their backs to him. The C's opened up, and you saw him tuck that ball, keep it high and tight. Once he got the necessary yards, he slid down to avoid contact. Exactly how it's drawn up.
Largest play of the game for A&M, a gain of 15. Here the handoff to Thad Franklin Jr. And nowhere to run there. Maybe lost a yard on the play.
And they had a little bit of RPO action on that play. It looked like he put the ball in his belly and came around the edge to try and influence the defense. But I like more quick hit downhill with Thad Franklin. I think he's a guy that you want to just get going and let him hit it and use that power and get his shoulders square. He's a contact runner. Once again, we talked about he's a volume guy. I think the more he gets the ball, the more he gets carries, the more he gets going.
Trips receiver to the bottom of your screen. Johnson looking that way, tries to target Goldie Lawrence. It's incomplete. And I was going to say that's a name we haven't called much. He had 4 catches for 95 yards last week. They need to get him in the rotation.
And there was a missed opportunity by Johnson on that play. Thad Franklin was wide open. Nobody went with him out in the flat. He would still be running if he threw the ball to him. If you look at the top of the screen, you'll see Thad Franklin. You can't really see him right here, but everybody's flowing over this side of the field. Thad Franklin is wide open at the top of the screen on that play.
Well, unexpecting the snap, and the offensive line barely moved for Florida A&M. In fact, the center got pushed over. The pass incomplete, and it's 4th and 11. And again, those are the stalwarts up front with Ashton Grable, Ricky Taylor, and Charles Davis.
Missed opportunities by this offense. Great field position. Great play by Johnson to get the first down and extend the drive, and then 3 bad plays. 2 throws that I thought were thrown prematurely and early, and a missed opportunity to Thad Franklin.
They're called at their own 12-yard line after that 36-yard punt. I'll tell you this, you never get tired of watching Florida A&M and Jackson State play because you know it's going to be a good game. You know, it's a tight game tonight. You flash back to last year. Daniel Richardson was leveled by True Thompson. The ball comes loose. Phillip Webb scoops, scores. That put Jackson State on top, and then the defense standing tall once again. Ashton Taylor comes up with it. Amari Matthews caps it off in a 35-21 victory for TC Taylor, who went undefeated in conference play en route to their SWAC championship and HBCU national championship. Pass incomplete to Janalen Dupree, who was sliding out of bounds.
And I thought he had an opportunity right there to go underneath the Jency Riley. One of the things, again, with the young quarterback is they try to get it all as opposed to taking what the defense gives you. And I've seen that a couple of times from Lockhart. As great as he is talent-wise, he has to continue to look at taking what the defense gives him as opposed to the big play.
Well, Davenport, who is making something happen, the cutback in Denario Davenport, who's tackled by Corey Collier Jr. Well, he gives them a burst right there on that carry. Davenport carrying over from what we saw from him last week.
And he took advantage of a poor angle by Deion Villers coming to the inside. Villers has to understand you want to keep outside leverage. You want to allow for your teammates to come in pursuit. You want to keep him inside. You cannot give up outside leverage.
Davenport slips down, and right there to tackle him is DJ Jones.
And Nicholas Demetrius, number 0, using that length to get up the field and beat the blocker and disrupt the play. Once again, a good job by those interior defensive linemen by Florida A&M getting up the field and disrupting the blocking assignments of the offensive linemen.
Well, giving chase, and Lockhart avoiding the pressure from Brian Norris Jr. still alive, and the pass caught but out of bounds by Jamil Gardner Jr., and a penalty marker out at the 25-yard line as well.
I think you're going to get holding.
Offense, number 79. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Second down.
And what happened on that play, the offensive tackle, he's giving up that outside shoulder. You've got to keep your shoulder square to the line of scrimmage. What he's doing, the right tackle, is when he kicks back on that first kick step, watch the outside shoulder. Once he opens up that outside shoulder, see right there, he's reaching. Once you open up that outside shoulder, you give up a short edge, a short corner for that defensive end to get around the edge. So you've got to keep those shoulders square, get 3 kick steps back. At that point, you're at the quarterback's level. You can turn and run him past the quarterback.
Ooh, sounded like you know that position through and through, as Latari Kinsler couldn't get to the ball carrier. Denario Davenport up ahead, and a solid gain on the play. It's still going to be 3rd and long upcoming for this Tiger offense.
And if you're Florida A&M, keep everything in front of you. If you give up the catch, give it up in front of the sticks, make the tackle. Do not allow these receivers to climb up on you and get on top of you.
2 of 5 tonight on 3rd downs for Jackson State.
Watch for the crossing route. That route has been open all evening. Jackson State has missed it a couple of times. They may have coached up the quarterback, Lockhart, to look for that crossing route. So watch for that if you're Florida A&M defensively.
Lockhart with plenty of time, dancing feet. Tries to get it, run out of bounds. And the tackle made on the Florida A&M sideline. And the coaching staff, including James Colsey III, giving a slap on the helmet to Lockhart after that effort.
Excellent job by the defensive front, getting immediate pressure on Lockhart. Once he sets his feet, he's got pressure in his face from the outside. He's got pressure, not allowing him to step up in the pocket. The only danger there was they lost contain on the left side of that defensive line, but there was too much area for him to get to try and get the first down. But a good job by that defensive line getting immediate pressure.
Back-to-back punts for the Tigers. Fielded well from Jalen Rogers, and Rogers sets up Florida A&M at the 49-yard line. And so the Rattlers still searching for their first points of the night. Can they get on the board for this drive? Find out when we come back.
The prime
expected. He's getting excited and overthrowing some passes that should be simple. Right here, he has what he wants on the outside, but this one stood out to me. You've got Denario right here. You've got the touchdown, but you've just got to take a little bit off the football, throw it to the inside, and here you've got a receiver streaking down the field, Dupree. They have busted coverage on that play. Just take a little bit off the football, but the young guy's excited. He sees a big play, a big opportunity in a big game, and he put just a little bit too much on that football. He'll get it together, but he's got some opportunities he has to take advantage of.
Well, Forrest, you've got a true freshman in his second collegiate start, and then you've got R.J. Johnson, who is 7 games deep into the season, getting a start again tonight, who has been tabbed as the guy. But this is his first year of starting college football. He was at Toledo last year, but did not play. And he was here in camp with James Colsey III and staff. They liked what he did. He was here the entire time because there was a QB competition with he and Jet Petty. Petty, who did get one start against North Carolina Central, and then they went back to R.J. Johnson. So they feel like he is the guy. He's just got to get more and more in tune with this offense here tonight. 2nd and 11. Johnson stands tall in the pocket, and you see he took a shot there when he threw it, and then some extracurricular between Jackson State and Florida A&M. A flag was already out, as it may have been hands to the face.
And that's expected. You're down in the trenches, you're hand fighting, you're getting physical, and the physicality of the football game, especially against a defense like this that's going to get up the field and challenge you, I expect that.
Personal foul, roughing the passer with targeting, number 18 on the defense. That play will be reviewed.
Okay, so that one called against Kanye Varner. I did see him put his, felt like he got a piece of the helmet. I thought it was more hands to the face. Let's take another look here as Johnson was about to deliver the football. Oh no.
Yeah.
He lowered his head. The crown of his helmet went in, helmet to helmet with Johnson.
And you've got to be careful, and you know that's what I expect when something like that happens. You see some extracurricular activity going on over there with Charles Davis, the big 6'5", 330-pound guard as well. So you expect the physicality to bring about some frustration. You see right there, I see what the big fella's doing down there. He's putting a little extra on a defensive lineman from Jackson State. But for Varner, that will hurt them because that's a part of their depth. And what they want to do is continue to keep fresh bodies coming in, rolling in with this aggressive defense that they play. So if they lose him, that's going to hurt some of their depth.
That's an excellent point for us. As D coordinator Terenzo Quinn really appreciates the depth that they have, especially up front, which is the strength of this unit. Preston Clipper is discussing it with the replay official Vernon Brakefield upstairs, and they have to uphold the call on the field, or they can overturn it. I hope I'm getting the language right. I know that's kind of changed this year, but I will say, when you look at Varner, who's coming in right there as he releases it,
like it's definitely going to be a roughing the passer penalty. They're trying to determine if it's targeting at this point. And it's kind of questionable. I think the fact that he put his helmet down and the crown of his helmet hit the face mask of the quarterback, that's the question right there. Does that constitute this being targeted?
Well, yeah, because you have to see if it hits the head or neck area, he lowered the crown. He did lead with his hands, but his head,
but the crown
of his helmet did make contact with the
face mask. Yes. There seems to be a little bit of concern over there on Coach Taylor's face too.
And I've got to also ask, just, you know, we talked about these 7 o'clock starts. Jackson State, who came into town yesterday, they are staying in Panama City, which was like 2 hours outside of Tallahassee. It's a night game, so keeping your guys locked in and engaged on both sides is already a challenge. Is the night game factor playing
after further review
into this?
We do not have targeting on the play. However, do have roughing the passer. 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
I used to hate night games because you're sitting around all day, and especially with a big game like this, you want to get up and get going. You hated 12 o'clock kickoffs because it's like everything's happening so fast, but you loved it when you got to the field because you don't have to sit around and wait all day. Night games, especially 7 o'clock kickoffs, are much more difficult. You'd rather, if you're going to have a later game, maybe 3:30, 3 o'clock, but the 7 o'clock kickoffs are always those ones that are a little bit more difficult because you're sitting around all day.
After the roughing the passer penalty, 1st and 10. Florida A&M in Tiger territory. Just over 5 minutes to go in the first half. Johnson, all kinds of pressure in his face, unloads it, and the pass incomplete. The nearest receiver was Jamar Taylor. So far, Johnson 5 of 12 tonight for only 13 yards. So the aerial attack has not gotten going for the Rattlers, who find themselves sitting at 2-1. If they win, they have an opportunity to stay in the hunt. Jackson State is also knowing what's at stake as Jamal Haley breaks one up the middle. Haley with plenty of room inside the red zone, and Florida A&M, their best opportunity right here. 35-yard run from Jamal Haley.
And they caught him in a run blitz. They showed 5, brought 7, and Haley's able to get to the second level, and there are no defenders there. And you see the speed. Once he sees the lane, he's able to get up the field. A great play call by Florida A&M.
The jet sweep to Goldie Lawrence, trying to get some blocking. Misses a tackler as B.J. Washington not able to come up with the initial contact, the extra effort, but no gain on the play out of all of that.
And a good play by Shamar Hawkins, number 5. He disrupted that play, slowing it down, allowing for his teammates to get up the field, that up the field pursuit. So a lot of times you're not making the actual play, but you're disrupting the rhythm of the play. And a good job by Shamar Hawkins getting up the field.
You see coming in close, a lot of guys in the boxes. R.J. Johnson tosses it to Jamal Haley, and right there is John Brown Jr. Big number 8, the Jackson, Mississippi native, with a tackle for a loss, pushes him back 6 yards.
And the problem I have with this is what you're doing is you're running everything right here. You're running to the outside. You need to be getting up the field. I don't like running left and right, side to side. I want to see downhill. This defense is too aggressive, too up the field to be trying to run to the side, trying to pitch the ball to the side and get north and south. You've got to get north and south off the initial handoff.
Pass incomplete to Jamar Taylor along that right sideline, and so some jawing between Salas and one of the receivers. Or no, that's that Franklin Jr. that he's chopping it up with. 4th and 16. And the kicker, Daniel Porto, comes on to attempt it from 38 yards out. Porto, who was 3 of 3 last week against Southern. And tonight against Jackson State, he's able to convert on that one and through the uprights, and we're tied at 3 apiece. And the type of ball game and atmosphere that you would expect between these two teams. You mentioned, Forrest, the last 2 HBCU national champions playing tonight. This has been a back and forth affair with no points really scored except for 3-piece.
And I just think that Florida A&M squandered an opportunity right there. You get the big run from Haley, and then you start the next 2 plays, you try to stretch the field east and west. The big runs because you hit it going north and south. So you try with the jet sweep action, then you try with the pitch to the outside. I think you keep going downhill. This is an aggressive up the field defense. The reason Haley hit that was because they caught them in a run blitz, and when he got to the second level, there are no defenders there. But if you're going east and west and you've got an aggressive up the field defense, you're giving them everything that they want because now they have all those lanes locked off.
Well, back to receive it, Travis Terrell Jr. from his own end zone, the goal line, and Travis Terrell Jr., who's a very dangerous return man, gets it out to about the 30, but some laundry flies out onto the field during the return as well, and it's going to go against Jackson State.
Holding on the return team, number 22, 10-yard penalty. First down, Jackson State.
Well, for us, as we look at the HBCU power rankings and where does Jackson State line up, well, Alabama State took care of business against Prairie View A&M earlier. Remember, they lost by that final play of the game, 1.5 yards to Jackson State, who's in at number 3. South Carolina State, the defending MEAC champions, in at number 2. Prairie View A&M out of the West with their first conference loss of the season. And we saw Delaware State, who was outstanding in that battle of the legends against Michael Vick earlier this week. Deshaun Jackson doing a wonderful job with the Hornets this year on the bubble. North Carolina Central, Ahmad Miller galloping down the left side, and Ahmad Miller, a foot race, tiptoeing down the sideline, pushed out by Andre Powell Jr., but just like that, that is the boost that the Tigers needed.
And when you've got everyone down in the box, that is the danger defensively. You see everybody down in the box, everybody reacting to the ball fake, and Miller does a good job of cutting it back. He saw the lane to the left side of that offensive line, and you see the speed once he gets to the outside. The Florida A&M defenders chasing him down the field, but a good job by Miller recognizing where the lane was, not playing gap sound football on the opposite side.
2 minutes.
That 64-yard run by Ahmad Miller takes us to the 2-minute timeout, and the Tigers on the prowl, hunting for some more points before heading into the locker room as we're knotted at 3 apiece. There's so much that you can use the ESPN app for, more college football throughout the night. A big one in Utah as College Game Day was there earlier. The Utes kick at, 10:15? Meanwhile, 2 minutes to go in the half. And Ahmad Miller, who has outgained the entire Florida A&M offense on that 64-yard run that sets them up inside the Rattlers' red zone back here at Bragg. The handoff to Miller again. This time he's plugged up Cameron Donald. You talked about that interior line of Florida A&M, and they're pushing it back.
And nobody has blocked Cameron Donald all evening. He's been penetrating, doing a good job. You see him split those offensive linemen. That just cannot happen if you're an offensive line. And you see those guys fussing at each other. Number 62 and number 74, DeAndre Towns-Blue and Almetra Smith Jr., they know that they cannot allow that to happen.
Into the hands of Janalen Dupree, a speedster on the perimeter. And he's popped out of bounds by Chase Lloyd. And so that's going to bring up 3rd down.
And how big would this be for Florida A&M after giving up a 64-yard run if they could stop and hold them to a field goal attempt? Something Coach Colsey talked to us about, bending but not breaking.
First contact made up front by Justice Cross, but the extra effort there from Denario Davenport gives 1st and goal to the Tigers.
And what Cross has to do right here, you've got to wrap up. You make the big hit, but you've got to wrap up and drive and try and prevent him from falling forward.
Davenport again trying to sneak in there between the A gap, and then he's pushed back. Running alongside DeAndre Towns-Blue, the left guard, and it's 2nd and goal. We told you coming in, Jackson State leads the SWAC, 2nd in the nation in rushing yards with 256 on average per game. And they are starting to come alive more here in this 2nd quarter. They got 189 on the ground so far tonight.
And I expect them to try and run behind the left guard.
Florida A&M. Be a 30-second timeout.
DeAndre Towns-Blue, we talked to him and I asked Coach Taylor, you need 1 yard. Who you running behind? And he did not hesitate. I'm running behind my all-conference, all-American left guard, DeAndre Towns-Blue, the 6'5", 334-pound graduate. And when you look at his ability, he's one of those guys that can road grade, that comes out with a flat back, that fires off the football. So I expect them to run behind him, but I love the competition between him and Cameron Donald because at 6'1", 295, he plays with a low center of gravity. And it's very difficult to, as an offensive lineman, get low enough to block against someone that's 6'1" because he has a natural bend. And so that's going to be the difficulty for the 6'5" Towns-Blue.
A&M after the timeout, 2 remaining, 1 for Jackson State. Amari Matthews, guy they like in these types of situations, and they were expecting it the entire way. A host of green jerseys to hold up Matthews.
And they tried to run behind that left side. And you see right there a good job of getting penetration.
Half the distance to the goal remains 2nd down.
Well, one of the reasons why they were able to slow up Amari Matthews, as Florida A&M had 12 players on the field. So now they're going to...
And that's discipline. You cannot have that after a timeout.
And that could backfire here if Jackson State is able to get into the end zone. There's the push, up and through. Ahmad Miller, who caps off with a touchdown run and some extra pushing and shoving after the play. And we saw flags fly into the air. But how about Ahmad Miller, who set that up with that big 64-yard run, and they reward him with a TD run.
After the play is over, unsportsmanlike conduct on the defense, number 8. That penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
And you saw what they did. They went with the gun. They had the back offset. And the play was designed for him to go up the middle. But what you do when you get in that, when you set him up like that, you allow him to see everything develop, and he was able to bounce it to the outside because he's able to see the blocking scheme develop. He saw what he needed to see, and he saw all he had to do was bounce it to the outside and basically walked in untouched. So a great play call from the Jackson State coaches after they tried to ram it in, you know, running dive plays down the middle, handing it off.
Gerardo Beza on to attempt the extra point. It's up and it's through. And Jackson State leading by a score after Ahmad Miller's 4th touchdown this season.
See the formation now. You see right there, he's able to see everything develop. He sees he has nothing down the middle of that offensive line. But he's able to bounce it to the outside because you see the left side of that offensive line crashed everything down. A good job by number 65, Mason Barton, to crash everything down. The tight end came in late, Jency Riley, and he was able to just bounce it to the outside. Miller was. Nobody there to touch him. A good job reading and taking what the defense gives you, as opposed to just putting your head down and running into all that traffic. He saw there was nothing to the outside and bounced it out.
Miller, the redshirt sophomore out of Memphis, Tennessee, closing in on the century mark. You see his average tonight, better than 10 yards per carry, and the lone touchdown of the night for either team. Jackson State, also important to note, will get the ball to start the second half. So that's the type of momentum they want to take into the locker room. And for Florida A&M, they've got to figure some things out offensively and how to move the football. A total of 62 yards in this first half with 18 seconds remaining. And like you said earlier, a squandered opportunity on that last possession for Florida A&M.
And when you look at this Florida A&M offense, you think about last week. They had a great outing, 287 yards passing, 260 yards rushing, 6.5 yards per carry on those rush attempts. And then you come into this game and you get totally shut down. I think, once again, they've got to figure out what their identity is. I think the best identity for them is running the ball right at Jackson State, as opposed to trying to get to the edge. This defense is too fast, too aggressive to get to the edge and then try and plan and get north and south. I think you've got to hit it down, hard down between the tackles, because they're coming up the field. If you can catch them in that run blitz, you're able to get big chunk yards with that run game.
After the penalty, after the touchdown, Naylor boots it out of the end zone. So a touchback for Florida A&M. And T.C. Taylor with a 7-point lead on the road at night here in Tallahassee. And you know he's going to have some words. His team is used to averaging better than 33 points per game, second most in the SWAC. They're holding tight to this one touchdown lead. Meanwhile, R.J. Johnson and this Rattler offense will take a knee and trot into the locker room. An anemic first half offensively for Florida A&M. And they're going to have to figure some things out and make some adjustments heading into the locker room before they come out for the third quarter. Well, a low-scoring affair here between the Tigers and the Rattlers. T.C. Taylor told his team earlier today, just win, baby. And right now, they're winning after the first two quarters of this one. And that message of controlling your own destiny rings true as we're joined now by head coach T.C. Taylor. And coach, just how important was it to take that momentum and get that score going into the locker room after the way your offense performed this half?
Much needed. You know, we got to settle this freshman quarterback down. You know, he had some opportunities to get a lead in that first half, but I'm very happy with Ahmad Miller, what he did right there. But very important touchdown right there. But our defense is playing great defense, and I told them this is the game that we're going to need them most, and they're answering the call.
Because what do you think you've done defensively where you've been able to shut down this FAMU offense?
Just personnel, you know, some things that we saw we could take advantage of as far as matchups and things like that. So, you know, that quarterback can scramble around, and they got speed at the receivers and stuff like that. But, you know, we're getting after him. I think Quincy Ivory is having had a great half in that first half, and he got to come out and do it again, the entire defense.
All right, thanks, Coach. We appreciate the time.
All right, thank you.
Well, he said, hey, defense has to step up with that freshman quarterback. They have done so in stalling that Rattler offense as the 20th ranked Jackson State Tigers up by a score at the half. In FCS. Hey, welcome back in with Forrest Connolly. I'm Tiffany Green. Now, we talked about the identity of Jackson State coming in was that rushing attack, and they held true to that in the first half.
Well, we talk about Bell Cal, the Bell stable is what they displayed with those running backs. They ran the ball very effectively through the middle of the defense, through the outside, and it started with Davenport. Extremely strong to the outside. You see breaking tackles, running through arm tackles, getting to the outside, what he does best, and then Miller, the the ability to see what the defense gives and bounce it to the outside, and then the speed to get down the field on that 64-yard run. And here, they set him up to just bounce it, get to the end zone, basically untouched. That running game has been extremely effective.
Well, they have been the big chunk of it, with Miller closing in on the century mark, 67 yards on the ground for Davenport, 193 yards in total on the ground. Meanwhile, something has to kickstart for Florida A&M's offense, who totaled 62 yards in that first half.
Well, they've got to run the ball more effectively, and I think it starts with getting downhill as opposed to the outside runs, trying to get to the edge. The defense for Jackson State is too aggressive, too fast. They're not getting anything on those edges. They need to try and affect that defense down the gut.
Well, you talk about the bell cows, and here's a good look at one of them. Denario Davenport, D squared, 8 rushes, 68 yards. Miller getting warmed up on the bike, 97 yards. You see his yards per carry, both very effective when they tote the rock, and we'll get a chance to see them on their first offensive possession of the second half as the Tigers receive the kickoff and looking for some space and an opportunity to get out to a good gain. And that's Kobe Paul on the return, and a flag out as well.
And you know, Tiffany, we talked about Davenport, we talked about Miller. We haven't talked about Terrell. There's another back that's capable of doing exactly what those two guys did in the first half. And that's the danger of playing against this offense. You can't concentrate on one guy because they have so many capable backs.
Well, Preston Clipper, our referee for tonight, listening in to his officials as they discuss the penalty before it's relayed to us.
We have 2 fouls on the play, and they will offset, and we will re-kick. Personal foul, hands to the face on the return team, number 6. Personal foul, hands to the face on the kicking team, number 25. Those fouls will offset, we will re-kick.
So we're going to do it again.
You have to think this is a positive outcome for Florida A&M because they had really good field position with that kick return. So once again, for Florida A&M, the momentum shifted in the second part of the second half. It was 2 minutes and some change left, and Jackson State was able to get that big run to get down the field to get that score, that touchdown on the board. I thought that's where the momentum shifted because Florida A&M had been doing a very good job of bending but not breaking. They have to get a stop defensively here. I don't think they can give up a touchdown and stay in this football game. I think if they give up another touchdown, it starts to get away from them.
Let me get a quick thought from you. What did you think of the bands at halftime?
I thought it was an excellent show, but I have to lean towards that 100 because of the end part.
Okay, see, you know, I thank you for your opinion. Now, when you talked about the field position on that last kickoff, this is even better for Jackson State.
I don't know what happened on the kickoff. That was not a great kickoff that time, so it was a short kick and they were able to get better field position. But once again, for Florida A&M, you've got to bend but not break. You didn't get a good, don't have good field position defensively starting here, but you've got to be stout at the point of attack. You've got to know they're going to attack you with that run game, and you've got to play your gap and be gap sound. That's what hurt them in the first half, not being gap sound on the outside. You've got to be gap sound.
Tigers starting from their own 41-yard line. Lockhart hands it off to Ahmad Miller, who crosses the century mark with that run right there. As Ahmad Miller, who was outstanding in that week 1 opener against Hampton, had a career high 180 yards, averaging 9.4 yards per carry. And he's doing much of the same here tonight, well on track if they continue to feed him the rock. Dancing, cutting back inside. It's going to bring up 3rd and about 2 as Chase Lloyd makes the tackle. He's a ground and pound kind of guy, the brother of Aubrey Miller, a great defensive player for Jackson State a couple of years ago. Now here on 3rd and 3 is the recipe to hand it off to Miller once again.
Absolutely. What's the old saying? If it ain't broke, don't try and fix it.
They have to pick up 2 yards. That would put them in Rattler territory. As the Sticks at the 49-yard line.
And look for them to run behind left guard DeAndre Towns Blue. That's their bell cow on the offensive line.
It's Miller. Miller gets the space needed. And he's brought down by Nayron Jenkins, but a fresh set of downs to work with for the Tigers.
And one of the things that you're noticing on all of these runs is number 74 and number 56 at the second level. Those are your guards. They're getting up on those linebackers, covering those linebackers. That's what you have to prevent if you're Florida A&M from the defensive front. You got to occupy those guards. Don't allow them to get to the second level.
Again, they run it up ahead with Ahmad Miller. So a steady dose of Ahmad Miller. Pick up a 4 on the play. And you go back to big number 56, Brian Williams. They call him Bam. He can play anywhere along that offensive line. DeAndre Towns Blue, as you mentioned, an all SWAC selection and All-American. Here on second down, Lockhart has a man. The step from Rimbert all by himself. And Nate, I got you, my boy, Rimbert, in for the score, 46 yards. Yeah, do your dance, young man. Nate Rimbert hauls it in, and that's the connection that Lockhart was looking for in the first half. He took a couple of deep shots, overthrew him, and this time into the crawl of Rimbert. Well, you led all receivers last week in receiving yards. His 4th touchdown of the season.
You know, one of the things, Tiffany, when you are running the ball very effectively, you start to beat up on the offensive line and the defensive line. And watch the defensive line on this play. You got no pass rush. Those guys are tired because they got beat up with that run game. Number 17, Jalik Thomas got caught looking in the backfield, and you see the results. The long touchdown for Rimbert. Job running the football. Watch the pass rush. Those guys have nothing left because they've been beat up. The offensive line has all given the quarterback all the time in the world. And number 17 got caught looking in the backfield, Jalik Thomas, because of the effectiveness of that run game. And you see the receiver Rimbert run right by him. Nobody on the back end to cover him up. An easy pitch and catch for Jackson State on that play. But it all started with that effective run game, beating up those defensive linemen, tiring those guys out, playing with tempo so they didn't have an opportunity to sub out, and you saw tired legs not getting a pass rush.
Well, Rimbert on the right, who has had a touchdown in each of the last 3 games. Speaking of the number 3, that's the total number of touchdowns for Jared Lockhart in just his 2nd or 3rd game of his career in a Jackson State uniform. Simon Naylor ready to kick it away. Kenari Wilcher on the return, and Wilcher is slung around and brought to the ground as the ball pops out. But they're going to say Wilcher was down as Kenzavius Lundy
The ruling
was
on
picking
the
it up
field
just in
is
case.
the player was down by contact before the ball came out. First down, Florida A&M.
Kenzavius Lundy, who was the one who wrestled Wilcher to the ground. Hargan, who picked it up. And it's going to set up 1st and 10.
And now, Tiffany, this is where it gets dangerous for Florida A&M because Quincy Ivory is an elite pass rusher. And now you've got a Florida A&M team that is going to have to throw the football. They're going to be very predictable on offense. And now you've got those pass rushers, those edge rushers, pinning their ears back, coming after the quarterback.
6 of 14.
The previous play is under further review
For R.J. Johnson III. And so they're going to take another look at this upstairs. Vernon Brakefield, our replay official. So Preston Clipper will go over to the sideline, put on the headset as they take a look at it.
And you're talking about a disaster. If this is deemed a turnover, boy, how the tables will have turned for Florida A&M.
We'll be back here at Bragg with the final call when we return. Ooh! The return from Canary Wilcher. He was ruled down by contact, and the whistle blew as Lundy stripped it loose. Hargan picked it up and ran it into the end zone. But a couple of things that you have to consider here. First, look at this, as it appears that Wilcher is knocked down before the ball comes out.
But then the question is, did the officials blow it dead?
Because if they did in fact blow it dead, which I believe they did, they may have done it prematurely. Let's hear from Preston.
After further review, the play on the field has been overturned. The runner lost the ball before he went down. The ball was recovered by Jackson State. It's going to be first down, Jackson State, on the 15-yard line.
I think what they're saying is, even if they blew it dead, they jumped on it immediately. So if there's an immediate recovery and the officials can go back and say, okay, we made an error in saying that he was down by contact, they'll award them the football. So I think that is what the officials came to the conclusion of, and decided to award the football to Jackson State. But what a big turn of events right now. And for Florida A&M, you've got to hold them to a field goal attempt right here. You cannot give up another touchdown.
First fumble loss this season for Florida A&M. That sets up Jackson State in another grand position to try to add more points to the board from Florida A&M's territory inside the 20, as Ahmad Miller, the ball carrier, brought down by Brian Norris Jr. and just around the 14.
And a good job by Brian Norris Jr. to diagnose where the ball carrier was, where the ball was, and get his arms around his legs to get him down.
So Davenport in the backfield, he gets the handoff, runs to that left side, bounces to the outside, and he's pushed out of bounds by Jason Riles.
And Brian Norris on that play, you've got to be gap sound. Once again, you allow Davenport to bounce it to the outside, get to that edge. You see the speed. You've got to keep that edge. You've got to maintain that edge and make him cut it back where pursuit is coming from.
And you feel like, Forrest, this is the time of the game that Jackson State can break it wide open if they can tack on another score. Mari Matthews trying to get a hard-earned 1 yard and is not able to do so, as it's going to bring up 4th and 1.
That was a huge stop right there. And this is interesting because Jackson State is looking like they're going to go for it. And if Florida A&M can get a stop, you not only stop this drive, but you create some momentum, some positive momentum.
I like this call by T.C. Taylor. 5 of 6 this season on 4th downs. Only need 1 yard. You're running the ball exceptionally well. And Jitsi Riley, or Denario Davenport, runs it into the end zone for another score. Davenport, the senior out of Macomb, Mississippi, who led the way last week on the ground for Jackson State, tacks on some more insurance, and 20 unanswered points from Jackson State. They look to make it 21 with this PAT attempt from Gerardo Beza, successful in doing so. And Jackson State widening the gap and making it ever so difficult now for Florida A&M. Another look here at Davenport's TD.
And you see what they did. They ran behind that left side. The left guard and the left tackle did a good job of getting that outside shoulder and allowing for the back to cut up in the alley. That's a good job by Barton and by Towns Blue. And that's what you want to do. You want to get that outside arm, get that outside shoulder, turn the shoulders of the defensive lineman. And what you do is you allow for an alley for the back to run up in. Davenport ran in basically untouched because of their ability to get movement at the point of attack, turn those shoulders of those defensive linemen, and create the alley. stood out. You know, you had a Jackson State ball club going into halftime averaging 7.4 yards per carry. They came into the game only averaging 5.9. So they were running effectively, but Florida A&M on the opposite end was only averaging 2.3 yards per play, 3.8 yards per rush, 2 yards per pass completion, and 0 for 6 on third down. So offensively, they have not gotten the job done this evening.
The song that Sonic Boom's playing goes, "Here We Go." It was like a 90s R&B hit. Here we go. I know
Portrait?
Yes. Okay. I see you, Forrest.
Absolutely.
I know the viewers at home were wondering if we thought that we would be auditioning for an R&B group.
Who's not got talent?
I'll raise my hand on that one. From the 25 is where Florida A&M will start their drive. And R.J. Johnson is behind a little bit, but it's still a catchable ball. It's incomplete to Miles Campbell, the tight end.
And something else that stood out throughout this evening is Jackson State has been able to get pressure with 4 pass rushers. You've got 5 to block 4. So the offensive line has to do a better job of picking up what they're doing pass rush-wise, because you've got 7 back into coverage. I don't care if you've got Aaron Rodgers back there throwing the football. You've got to give your quarterback time to find the opening and a space to get the ball down the field. When they're getting 4, pressure with 4, that's a problem.
Well, you see Quincy Ivey was in pursuit, but the first to get there was Mike Ashton Taylor. You see a little dance afterward, because they were both giving chase immediately.
But you see right there, initial pressure, immediate pressure. They're getting pushed at the point of attack. They're pushing the Florida A&M offensive linemen back into the pocket. The offensive linemen for Florida A&M have to do a better job of firing off with flat backs.
Now 3rd and 13. FAMU's yet to convert here tonight. Stands tall in the pocket, delivers the pass to Jamar Taylor, shakes the defender. Taylor stays on his feet and is brought down, but critical first down as Florida A&M able to convert on their first 3rd down. Taylor goes off limping after that 20-yard gain.
And a good job by Johnson, sidestepping the pass rush, standing tall, and allowing his receiver to find an open space for him to deliver the ball down the field in the seam to get them that first down, convert their first 3rd down of the game.
Thad Franklin Jr. up the gut.
Going back to that pass, watch the quarterback Johnson. He sidesteps the pass rush. You see him stand tall in the pocket, deliver a strike, and a good job by his receiver Taylor to not only catch the football, squeeze the football, but get positive yards and make a play. We saw him kind of limping going off the field. Hopefully he'll be able to get back out there. But a good job by Johnson, standing tall in the pocket, not panicking when the pass rush got to him immediately.
Here on 2nd down, Johnson again has a man and turned around. Miles Campbell thrown out of bounds, pass incomplete. One of the things that we heard from the coaching staff this week of Florida A&M of why they've had success and wins the last couple of games is that they've simplified the offense for their young quarterback.
One of the things Coach Taylor said is they saw something on film, and I think what they saw is we've got to drop 7 in the coverage. We feel like we can get pressure with 4, which they've done throughout this evening, and we're not going to give him any alleys to throw the football. So what Florida A&M has to do is find a way to make them bring more pass rushers down in the box and get man coverage.
Out of the hands and into Thad Franklin Jr.'s. And a short gain on the play. And it's 4th down as the official moves them out of the Tiger sideline.
And you see a good job of recognition on that play by Taylor, knowing they wanted to go with the underneath pass. They had the blocking set up, but Taylor recognizing what they were trying to do and navigating through the traffic to get to the ball carrier.
And Taylor not happy about
After
that,
the play's
Coach Taylor.
over, unsportsmanlike conduct. Defense number 15 making contact with an official. That is number 15's first foul toward disqualification. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And that's against the starting free safety Cam Salas. So what would have been 4th and 7 for Florida A&M marches them into Tiger territory after the penalty. And 1st and 10 for the Rattler offense. So they get to stay on the field after that, and awarding and giving FAMU a little extra life. And you know TC Taylor is unpleased with that.
One of the more interesting things, we're seeing some fans leave, but you have to remember, this is a Florida A&M team that scored 21 points in the 4th quarter last week. This is a FAMU defense that held this offense, you know, to 3 points.
A little trickeration here as Jalen Rogers on the reverse. And Rogers with a solid game. The collision course in the process, slow to get up is Tymon Wells.
But back to that thought, Tiffany, they held this offense in check pretty much the entire first half until the last 2 minutes. So this game is not over. They've just got to continue to push forward. I thought this was a positive play, something we haven't seen on early downs from Florida A&M. You got a positive play. You put yourself in second and very manageable. You open up the playbook now as opposed to being predictable with the play call. But I think they have to continue to look to get vertical. But you've got to protect the quarterback.
Gets it out, and that's Kanari Wilcher. Wilcher scampers out of bounds at about the 20-yard line. Maybe they'll spot it at the 19. And a red zone opportunity for Florida A&M.
And there you go. You've got 6 pass rushers on that play. They try to stunt, but the offensive line did a good job of picking up all of those pass rushers. And then you allow your quarterback to get the ball to a playmaker in the open field. And you see what Wilcher is able to do.
Johnson guns it and zips it over to Jordan Edwards. And Edwards with a good adjustment there on the catch. 14-yard reception. And Florida A&M marching down, trying to trim this 3-score deficit. Haley, who was churning his legs with not much room to run, thanks to Ashton Taylor.
And one of the things that's been impressive about Johnson this drive is he stood tall in the pocket with pressure around him, pressure coming out the field. He's trusted his offensive lineman to give him the time necessary to deliver the ball, and he's doing a good job of finding his receivers in these pockets and giving them an opportunity to make a play after the catch.
Let's see what they dial up here on 2nd and goal. Bringing Wilcher in motion, quickly out. They flood it to the right side, and free up the right side. That's Jamal Haley in for the Rattlers. So he just kind of leaked out the backfield and boom, into the end zone.
And again, very impressive with Johnson's poise on that play.
Rattlers not giving in. The extra point is up and through for Porto. So now they cut the lead to 14, 11 plays, 75. Yards, just over 5 minutes for the Rattlers, and they're able to be successful on that offensive possession. It's 24-10 from Tally.
They're finding his receiver in the middle of the field, and a better job by Taylor getting yards after the catch. And here, Wilcher, you get into your speed guy on the outside. Here, you deliver a strike to number 21, Edwards, and I like the patience. He had a defender coming down to him, Shamar Hawkins, but he stood tall, allowed for Haley to clear that defender and delivered the ball right where it needed to be for him to score the touchdown.
Well, the longest drive of the game, we mentioned an R.J. Johnson with 56 passing yards this quarter. He was 5 of 7 on that scoring drive for the Rattlers. So let's see if they can build on that, as both of these teams trying to stay in the SWAC East Division race. Jackson State, the defending champs, out of the conference. Travis Terrell Jr. on the return, across the 25. Little juke move, brought down beyond the 30. So remember when we came on the broadcast, we talked to you about just the significance of this game and how crucial it was for both teams. For Florida A&M, they've got to win out to even have a shot at being in the conversation for the division leader. Jackson State is trying to stay right there with Alabama State and Bethune-Cookman, who got wins earlier today, if they can walk out of here with a win on the road. Denario Davenport, who continues to drag defenders along. He scored that touchdown on the last drive. Davenport just continues to churn those legs. He's strong, hard-nosed runner.
And it starts with the offensive line getting up to those second-level defenders. Watch number 62, the center. Watch the big fella get up to the second-level defender, cover up that linebacker, and just take him for a ride. And that's what you're looking for from your offensive lineman. Take him for a ride. You want to run up in there with the big guys, you're going to get dealt with. And I love what I saw from the center on that play.
This time collapsing to the ground is Davenport. May have slipped Simeon Hines with the tackle. First 5 drives, you see 3 points netted out of 31 plays and also a fumble, but they've been mightily effective on the last 3 drives. And up until that touchdown from Florida A&M, they had scored 21 unanswered points. Davenport again.
And one of the things that Florida A&M was successful in doing early in the football game is occupying space, occupying those interior linemen, not allowing them to get up on those second-level defenders. They've got to get back to what Cameron Donald and Nicholas Demetrius was doing early in this football game, occupying those interior guys, not allowing those guys to disengage and get up to the second-level defenders, covering up those linebackers. This is a big third down right here.
And just taking what's underneath the crossing route, and there is Jamil Gardner Jr. sidesteps the defender and into FAMU territory. The redshirt junior out of Detroit.
And that is about game planning, because that is a play that was open all first half that the young quarterback Lockhart was missing, trying to get it all. And now he's taking what the defense is giving him. That crossing route by Jamil Gardner, he missed it 2 or 3 times in the first half. And I guarantee you they went into halftime and told him, look for that crossing route. It's open all evening.
The freshman quarterback out of Charlotte, North Carolina, has made the adjustments here in the second half, been aided by the ground game. They go back to Davenport, who bounces out of the a bunch, and brought down by Nayron Jenkins. Well, we know one thing holds true. Jack about as good as anybody in all of FCS football. They trail just Delaware State, who leads the country. Right behind them is Jackson State, and again, impressively, they have eaten up a lot of yards here tonight with that rushing attack. 230+ yards. A fumble, and who falls on top of it? The delay response from Lockhart. We saw a couple of green jerseys dive in as well. And they're going to try to sort this one out to see who comes up with it. And I think Lockhart holds on to it.
And it looked like Florida A&M had an opportunity. You see the ball right there at the mesh point. He tries to pull it out late. And right there, number 18 had an opportunity to jump on that football. A good job by Lockhart being able to cover that up. Antonio Kamen had an opportunity to cover that up, but a better job by Lockhart being able to get control of that football.
There's Cameron Donald making the tackle on Travis Terrell Jr.
And you have to look at this as possibly 4-down territory for Coach T.C. Taylor and this Jackson State offense. They've been able to move the ball effectively running. I think they're going to continue to challenge that defensive front and try and run the ball right at them with Lockhart and with Miller. Lockhart's doing a good job of bouncing it to the outside when it's not anything there in the middle. And what excuse me, not Lockhart, but Davenport's doing a good job of bouncing it to the outside. And what I like is the patience that he's running with.
Lockhart looking, stays downfield, a hold, and this one is going to come back as Lockhart fighting for yardage here.
And not the kind of contact you want your quarterback to take as well, putting his head down. But a good job by the Florida A&M back-end defenders, not giving Lockhart anywhere to go with the football.
Holding.
Good job.
Offense, number 65. 10-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
And a good job by Lockhart not trying to force it and giving up an easy turnover.
So now 3rd and 17. And again, ground and pound for T.C. Taylor's team. 251 yards and counting, their 5th game with 200+ yards. On the ground. So here on 3rd down, and before they can get the snap off, Jackson State calls a timeout.
Jackson State, first charge timeout of the half.
Their first of the half. Well, they opened up the season with a win against Hampton. Took the L on the road against Southern Miss. Jarrett Lockhart got his first career start against Tuskegee in the shutout of the Golden Tigers, and then reeling off 3 straight over Southern, Alabama A&M, and that huge win in what has been the HBCU game of the year so far against Alabama State, and then losing to an FCS opponent for the first time in over a year last weekend against Grambling State in that Las Vegas Classic.
And that was on the last-second kick as well, so it's not like they have not been in every football game outside of that Southern Miss, and they've won all those games. The thing that I'm looking for from Florida A&M right now is be weary of the wheel route. You know, they've got some backs that can get out of that backfield, some guys that have been forgotten about with those linebackers crashing downhill, so that's something to look for as well.
Miller inserted into the ball game. They hand it off to Miller, and Miller coming up big on the run there as Ahmad Miller on 3rd and 17 is right there at the sticks, and it's good enough.
And this is demoralizing. Look at those interior linemen getting up on those second-level defenders. Once again, you're allowing those guys to basically get a free release. Like you talk about with wide receivers, you can't give them a free release. They're doing the same thing with those interior offensive linemen, giving them free releases up to those interior and second-level defenders.
Wow. 1st and goal. Ahmad Miller tripped up, still fighting to get into the end zone, left just a half a yard short.
And right now, the offensive line for Jackson State is wanting it a little bit more than the defensive line from Florida A&M. They're beating them to the punch, and they're knocking guys back.
Well, the bruising run of Ahmad Miller, flag, and we'll get the explanation here.
After the play is over, unsportsmanlike conduct on the offense. Number 74, that is number 74, first foul toward disqualification. That is the end of the third quarter.
And number 74, you're a graduate, you're the leader on that offensive line. You've got to know better, you've got to do better. But this offensive line is setting the tone, they're knocking people back, and that's why Jackson State is up 24-10.
Up by 2 scores over Florida A&M on the road, and another look at that personal foul penalty against the left guard, DeAndre Towns. Blue.
And he's your bell cow offensive lineman. He's the graduate. He's the leader on that offensive line. He's the All-American, All-Conference player. You expect better from him. But this is a team coming into this game averaging 89 penalty yards per game, 120. That will hurt you in the long run when you're chasing another national championship. They've got to get better with that. They've got to be more disciplined. Coach Taylor talked about the lack of discipline from his team and the penalties. They've got to do better.
That's a great point if they want to make it back to the Cricket Celebration Bowl. Second and goal from the 16. The speedster, Travis Terrell, is met by Corey Collier Jr. And now third and goal after that penalty a couple of plays ago.
And how costly was that penalty? If they're able to get a stop here and put them in a position to attempt a field goal and possibly stop that as well, you're on the 1 yard line basically, and you get that costly penalty.
Six of 11 on third downs. Lockhart with all the time in the world, finally getting loose is Demetrius. And then Lockhart just finds enough running room, steps out of bounds, and fourth and goal. And we'll see the field goal unit come onto the field.
And a good job by Florida A&M. Staying on top of those receivers, not giving Lockhart anywhere to go at the football, forcing him to make a decision to run the football, and then not allowing him to get to the end zone. You want to stay on those receivers until he breaks the line of scrimmage, because if he doesn't break the line and you go and attack, now you give him somewhere to go at the football.
Little chip shot here for Gerardo Beza from 22 yards out. It's up and it's through. And extending their lead is Jackson State.
Now, if you're the Florida A&M faithful, you got to say to yourselves, okay, we're down 17. It's the fourth quarter, but we scored 21 points in the fourth quarter last week, so it is possible.
Let me tell you what many did not think was possible was UAPB, Arkansas Pine Bluff, putting up a 40-piece on Southern. Congratulations to Alonzo Hampton and the Golden Lions. Bethune-Cookman and Alabama State with big wins today to move to 4-1, tied for first place. How about Grambling with back-to-back wins as they take down Alabama A&M, and Alcorn State with a convincing win over Texas Southern.
And the team to watch that nobody's been talking about is Bethune-Cookman. They are coming on as of late. They still got games against Grambling and against Jackson State, which will be huge.
There's just so much that can shake out the remainder of the season, but thus far it's been quite entertaining for the first 9 weeks of college football. You just think about just some of the scenarios and what's remaining for the different contenders. We saw Jackson State's schedule. They travel to Valley next weekend, Bethune-Cookman, and then they close out with their rival one of their rivals, Alcorn, Texas Southern and Alabama State next weekend. Jackson State will again host Bethune-Cookman, and then the Florida Classic on November 22nd, all leading up to who will be the team out of the East and team out of the West to play for the SWAC Championship December 6th on ESPN2.
And Bethune-Cookman is in control of their own destiny right now with that big win today over Valley. If they can run the table the rest of the way, they place themselves in a position to play for that SWAC championship representing the East.
That one complete to Goldie Lawrence, but just to put a button on that, you've got Cameron McCoy, the quarterback, who has done an excellent job. The wide receiver, Malik Huggins, and Raymond Woody Jr. has gotten things together in Daytona Beach. You know, First Take's going to be there the week of the Classic, so they'll get a chance to show off their campus, much like we've seen Delaware State and Norfolk State already do this season. R.J. Johnson III on the carry.
And a good job by Johnson recognizing that he had an opportunity to get the first down and give his team a new set of downs. Now he's got to try and get vertical with that pass game. The offensive line has got to do a good job. They've got 4 pass rushers. They're showing 4. Now they drop back 8 in the coverage, 3. He should have all the time that he needs.
Tries to fake out a defender, does so, but the great pursuit there from Carmelo Jones to trip him up. Jones, the 6'2", 216-pound middle linebacker out of Mobile, Alabama.
And the problem with that is you've got 3 pass rushers and you've got 5 pass blockers. There's no reason he should have immediate pressure.
Now it's 2nd and 5. A gain of a couple for Thad Franklin Jr. So that's going to bring up 3rd and 3 for Florida A&M. And trailing by 3 scores, Florida A&M needs to make good of every opportunity they have remaining. You said it earlier. They had their chances in the first half. It was 10-3 going into the locker room. And then Jackson State's offense has exploded since. In and out of the hands of Jalen Rogers, which would have been a first down. Instead, the drop, the 3rd of the night for Florida A&M, brings up 4th down.
And Rogers turned his head trying to make a play before getting possession of that football. You can't worry about the contact that you're going to take. You know they're coming. You're in the middle of the field. You're going to get hit, but you've got to get control of that football, squeeze the football. You've got to get the first down.
And right here, Florida A&M going for it, or at least showing that they may go for it here. 5 of 11 on the season. On 4th down. And before the snap, a timeout is taken by Jackson State.
Before the snap, timeout, Jackson State. Their 2nd charge timeout. Will be a full timeout.
A timeout on the field. We will take it as well with 11:40 remaining. 4th and 3 upcoming for Florida A&M. Important 4th down back here at Bragg, as it looks like James Colsey III electing to go for it. Do you like the call here?
Absolutely. It's now or never. And for the quarterback, Johnson, you have to realize you just need a first down right here. You don't need to get it all.
From their 44, got to get to the 46-yard line, and the pass is incomplete. And the defense from Jackson State holds. And Terenzo Quinn, the D coordinator, who has done a magnificent job tonight and all season long, one of the stingiest defenses in the conference and country, holds up. Now, there's a clarification he likes to make. He calls his defense the dark side defense. Florida A&M has a defense that they've called in the past the dark cloud defense. What have you seen out of that dark side defense from Jackson State tonight?
They've won that side of the football with the pressure that they've been able to get with 3 and 4 pass rushers, dropping 7 and 8 back into coverage, not giving the quarterback anywhere to go at the football. Florida A&M has done a poor job of protecting their quarterback, giving them time. When you've got 8 back defending the pass, when you've got 7 back defending the pass, you've got to allow your receivers to find a space to create an opening for the quarterback to throw the football. They just have not done that this evening.
Meanwhile, they also just have not stopped Davenport, Ahmad Miller. This rushing attack is Nate Rimbert already with the touchdown along the right side, and he's in. The Tigers wide receiver takes the jet sweep, and he's off, and nobody caught him.
And it almost looked like Florida A&M was not prepared for that play. Watch when Rimbert gets the football. The defense just stops. You've got defenders over there, and they just stopped. And they were paused looking into the backfield.
Nate Rimbert's second touchdown of the night. And Jackson State continues to roll. 434 total yards amassed here on Ken Riley Field on the home field of Florida A&M. Well, Nate Rimbert saying, I got your back, brother. I can do it on the receiving end, and I can run it in. Whatever you need, I got you.
And back to the touchdown, when you look at the jet sweep, the thing that stood out to me is you've got Jamil Sanders, number 8, the safety, coming up, and he's there to make the play. But watch, he just stops. He watches the back, and you saw what happened. I think what happened is the back put the ball behind his back. If we can run that back again, I think that Rimbert took the ball and put it behind his back and faked out the defender on that play. I don't think I've ever seen that before. And here we go again. Watch Rimbert. Watch the jet sweep back right here. Okay, number 3. He gets the ball right here. Oh, okay, the ball. He lost control of the ball and it went behind his back. And then so that is what made the defender freeze. I'm wondering, okay, the defender's right there. And there's no reason why he should have stopped. But you saw the defender freeze. And because he didn't know where the ball was. And because he almost lost control of the ball, that made the defender lose where the ball was, which allowed him to get around the edge. So lucky for him, he almost fumbled, which created an opportunity for him to skirt down the field untouched with nobody really knowing where the ball was initially.
Fair caught by Jamal Haley. Okay, one more peek.
Watch the bobble right here. You see the ball right there behind his back. Nobody knows where the ball is.
It's an unintended trick, you know.
Yes.
It's like, now you see it, now you don't. Now it is. Okay.
And actually, that was not Jamil Sanders. That was number 6, Davion Westmoreland, out there.
So for Florida A&M's defense, which has had trouble stopping the run, that has been the case tonight. 330 yards given up. Meanwhile, the offense for Florida A&M has just not gotten anything really going in this one. They had some moments and flashes.
And you know, you want to give the defense credit. They stopped the run early, but they just kept pounding and pounding away. When the offense couldn't get anything going, I think it got away from the defense. And that allowed that Jackson State running attack to get going. But they've got pressure on the quarterback once again with 3 pass rushers. That's been the remedy all night long. You've got 4 pass rushers right here. They run a stunt, but they crash down on the quarterback.
Offense,
the offensive tackle.
10-yard penalty, still first down.
Offensive tackles got to do a better job of setting back. When they run those stunts, you've got to pass it off to your guard. Your guard has to bump you off, but you have to get depth when they run those stunts and those twists. And you saw in that play, Felipe did not get the necessary depth, which allowed for the defender to get to the back of the quarterback and roll up on your quarterback. Very dangerous.
So after the holding call, 1st and 20. And Edwards with the reception. Well, you wondered how this Florida A&M team was going to come out. And they stood tall and hung in there for the first 2 quarters. But after going into the locker room, the adjustments made by both sides, it was really more of the Jackson State team we anticipated seeing, especially given that they were pretty angry after last week's loss to Grambling State. They wanted to shake that out, and they're taking it out right now on Florida A&M. And Johnson trying to move people as best as possible, but there's big Jeremiah Williams, Agent Zero in white.
And Carmelo Jones and Quincy Ivory, I mean, they're right on them. Watch number 11 off the edge right here. He beats the tackle to the outside, and then you've got Quincy Ivory coming from the opposite side. They're squeezing the quarterback. He can't step up in the pocket because the guards in the center are not sitting down and being stout at the point of attack, and the tackles are giving up the short corner, squeezing the quarterback in. And you see Coach Colsey frustrated right now because he knows his offensive line just has not done a good job of protecting their quarterback.
That picture worth 1,000 words. Just the slight shake of the head from Colsey as play clock down to 3. The snap's off. Johnson off and running, and Johnson gets out of bounds along that Jackson State sideline.
And you see what they showed, 3 pass rushers. They dropped one back, then they brought a delayed blitz with the linebackers. So they're showing Johnson a bunch of different looks. They're trying to confuse the quarterback. But once again, when you're able to get pressure with 3, pressure with 4s, 8 and 7 back in the coverage, you have to give your quarterback time.
Tough night for Johnson. 13 of 25, 83 yards as Inksler punts it away, goes out of bounds. And a flag on the field after the play is whistled dead.
You've got some guys out there getting a little chippy, some frustrated Florida A&M players, and they're getting teased by some of the Jackson State players, so I expect that officials are trying to keep control of this football game.
After the play is over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness on the kicking team, number 11. 15 yards, Jackson State, first down.
Well, again, it was Jackson State who was up by a score coming out of the locker room, and then they just decided to explode on offense. The turnover here was critical. And what did they do? Just capitalized. Denario Davenport was barely touched going into the end zone. We saw Nate Rimbert with the score. They said, you know what, let's run that back once more, as Rimbert scored the last touchdown for Jackson State. And T.C. Taylor's team was an all-around great team. They can score points when they need to, right at their season average. Their defense is stout. But as you said, for the area that they've really got to clean up, the penalties.
Yeah, they've got to be more disciplined, because when you face some of the tougher opponents in a close football game, the lack of discipline can lose you a football game. You know, these penalties, some of these penalties that they're getting, the extracurricular activity, you've got to stop that. You've got to avoid that.
Miller on the carry again, and they're just continuing to add to their rushing total. Remember, they had 388 rushing yards against Alabama A&M in that Gulf Coast Challenge, a season high 702 total yards. And again, they have just been eating up a ton of yards on the ground. And another example in this second half. Plus, they've also gotten a number of explosive plays. And you think about that big run back in the first half, and then 6 plays of 20 yards or more for the Tigers offense.
And I think the thing that's been most impressive to me is not just knocking guys off the ball, but their ability for their interior linemen to get up on those second-level defenders. Once again, I talk about it all the time. Second-level defenders are more athletic than the offensive linemen that are coming up to cover them up. But when you're an offensive lineman and you can get there and get work and get your body on top of those linebackers, not allowing them to flow downhill, you create opportunities for your backs. That's something that the Jackson State interior linemen have done an excellent job of throughout this evening. And I think that's why they're so effective running the football, not just because of those great backs, but because of their linemen doing their jobs.
Davenport again. I really like just the mixture of running backs for Jackson State. And if you look at the different running styles, you've got Terrell, who's a speed guy. Ahmad Miller kind of sits in the middle. You saw his little burst there, but he can also run between the tackles. Davenport knows how to pick up tough yards as well. But what I like about him is he doesn't stop moving those legs.
Well, all of these backs are very tough. They show contact balance, so they get hit and bounce off of that contact and continue to fall forward. And they just look like they enjoy, you know, running the football and being effective for the offensive line. And as an offensive lineman, when you've got guys that run like these guys and run hard-nosed and run with contact balance, you enjoy going out and putting work in for them.
Travis Terrell, who's wrapped up. I'll say this, again, 3 games remaining for Jackson State after tonight. And the question of who will take the East, a lot of scenarios and a lot of football left to play. And on the West, you've got Prairie View A&M, who got their first loss of the game. But Tremaine Jackson, who has done an outstanding job with the Panthers, among the new coaches around HBCU programs. That was one of the storylines coming into this season.
And you know, Tiffany, something else, what shouldn't be understated is the size of Jackson State's offensive line. 6'6", 315, 6'2", 333. 6 feet, 290.
Travis Terrell is in for the touchdown, running behind those big guys up front, clearing the way. And Terrell, the 5th different player tonight to score a touchdown for Jackson State.
And just to finish that off, 6'5", 334 and 6'8", 330. They've got a Power 5 offensive line, and they have cleared the way for these running backs all afternoon, all evening.
The score continuing to run up here in Tallahassee, 41-10 for Florida, or for Jackson State.
And you see once again that powerful offensive line opening holes, and you see the backs, Terrell on that play, like the other backs that we've seen all evening, go in basically untouched.
Ari Kinsler, Nayron Jenkins, and Brian Norris Jr. are playing their final game in Bragg, and they were honored before tonight's game. And what a challenging season it's been for the Rattlers, but certainly the dedication that these young men have provided to this program, greatly appreciated and never forgotten. On the return is Kanari Wilcher. Wilcher with a good running start, and Wilcher keeps on going. Wilcher with a big return across the 50, pushed out near the 40. And Kanari Wilcher on the return, and no flags out. And so at this point, if you're Florida A&M, you're just playing for pride and trying to close out this game with some momentum to lead you into next week.
And you have to also remember, this is the last time you're going to play at Bragg Stadium this season. So you want to continue to give your best effort for your home fan base and get better. There's always an opportunity to get better. There's still a lot of season left. They still got 3 more football games to play, or 4 more games to play. So there's an opportunity to get better, and you want to finish with a winning record. So there's an opportunity also to ruin, possibly ruin an opportunity for your arch rival in the Florida Classic later on this season if Bethune is able to go undefeated the rest of the way until you get to that ball game.
Well, you never know who you're going to see in Tallahassee, and Thad Franklin Jr. on the carry. And among those that you run into around these parts, a name that is quite familiar and beloved all throughout the capital city. Your former teammate in Charlie Ward, a Heisman Trophy winner who has entered the booth in the building. He now is the head men's basketball coach for Florida A&M, and he's kind enough to join us now in the booth. And certainly it's a busy night in Tallahassee as it's homecoming for Florida State. But he's here supporting Florida A&M in their final home game at Bragg Memorial Stadium. And here's the thing, Horace, I should probably ask you this question because you know this dude better than most. You used to protect him up front.
Absolutely.
So like, let me step out of the way and let you have your moment with your former teammate. Charlie, welcome to the booth.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me up here. I was running around trying to find you, but grateful that I got a chance to see you.
Yeah. All right. So Big Foe, give me a story about Big Foe real quick, and I'm gonna ask the other way.
Big Foe, in our basement, there's a picture of us. We were playing against Georgia Tech, and there's a guy to my left, big dude, and his name was Big Foe. So I was grateful for Big Foe because he was on the left side and he was big. And all I told him, if he missed the block, just yell so I can know to get out of the way.
Making sure he's protected. Let's talk a little bit about also just your time here now taking over Florida A&M men's basketball, the decision to lead the Rattlers.
Well, look, it was difficult in the sense that I was planning to coach high school basketball this year. But God opened his door for me. At the time, A.D. Suggs gave me an opportunity to come back to Florida A&M, which I grew up here. I was born here. My parents graduated, and my sister graduated from here. So I was always a Rattler. And so I was grateful to have the opportunity and didn't have to move, which was another great part about it.
And in terms of what we should look forward to seeing from a Charlie Ward coached basketball team here at FAMU, what do we expect?
Well, all I can say is we're going to show up and compete. So I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but one of the things we're going to be is we're going to show up and compete each and every night. And I'm grateful that we have a great staff that I was able to put together in a short period of time, and also a pretty competitive team. So we're excited about the opportunity that we'll have each and every night to go out and compete and deal with the consequences, whatever those are.
Well, Charlie, it was perfect timing for you to come into the booth and join us just as you lead us up to the 2-minute timeout. We appreciate your time, and good luck this upcoming season.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right.
And go Rattlers.
Yeah, we'll be back here the final 2 minutes from Tallahassee when we return. Fans of Jackson State remaining here to see this one close out, as that's full support from AD Ashley Robinson to bring the sonic boom of the South. They hadn't been here since like the mid-90s to this stadium. And obviously these two teams will meet every season in the same division. Into the end zone, and the touchdown hauled in by Ace Cobb. Cobb with the touchdown. Too little too late for Florida A&M, but again, this is about building momentum for the remainder of the season.
And Johnson did a good job of throwing the ball before he came out of his break. And he put the ball right where it needed to be, so when Cobb turned around and located it, landed right in his lap. A good job, and he beat Shamal Hawkins on the back end of that defense. And that's something that Florida A&M felt like they could do. If they had time, they could beat these defensive backs from Jackson State. They just did not get the time for their quarterback, and it kind of got away from them. And when they became predictable offensively because of the game getting away from them, that pass rush became a problem. Once again, the offensive line has to do a better job of protecting Johnson. You give him time, he can find seams and find holes. But Coach Taylor told us they saw something in game planning and they took advantage of it.
So the remaining schedule for Florida A&M looks like this. They are on the road the rest of the way. Now, that November 22nd game is at a neutral site. That game against Valley on that Thanksgiving weekend was because they had a game scheduled with Valley in Atlanta on October 4th. That fell through, and so they pushed the game to go after the final game that they normally play against Bethune-Cookman. So they'll travel to the Delta on November 29th.
And I tell you what, if you're Florida A&M, what you're hoping for is for Bethune to go undefeated until you get to them. And you getting an opportunity to knock off your arch rival and prevent them from playing for a SWAC championship.
A lot of twists and turns that can take place before then. Florida A&M going for the 2-point conversion here. And they hand it off to Haley, and unsuccessful in the try. Well, Jackson State, which will walk out of here with a win with 1:53 remaining. They've won 3 SWAC championships in the last 4 years. They went on to win the Cricket Celebration Bowl, named HBCU national champions. And TC Taylor, who kept many core pieces to return to this year's team, trying to make another run at it. But what a great job he has done. That 21-22 stretch, he was on the staff with Deion Sanders. Coach Prime at the time re-energized this fan base, and then did it all, won it all in 2024. And when you think about just the influx of former NFL players turned head coaches, Coach Prime provided a blueprint for many of the guys. Now we saw Eddie George do it, who's now once at Tennessee State, now at Bowling Green. Deshaun Jackson at Delaware State. Michael Vick at Norfolk State. We saw that big game on Thursday. You know, TC Taylor talked about just the importance and how great it was to see 47,000 plus show up to the link and play a football game in an NFL stadium of the Super Bowl champions and shine another spotlight on the brand. And among the new head coaches around the HBCU landscape, Terrell Buckley, former Seminole, was that your former teammate?
Absolutely.
Sam Shade over at Alabama A&M, Sean Gibbs at North Carolina A&T, and Reggie Barlow with Tennessee State.
And you love the spotlight that it brings to HBCU football. There's a lot of great talent in HBCU football, and a lot of great football to be played. And you just hope that, you know, you continue to see more guys get involved with HBCU sports, not just football, but sports in general. Get some ex-NBA players coming in like a Charlie Ward to coach at some of these HBCU programs. The direction that it's going is just excellent. You know, the tutelage, the things that Charlie will be able to share with these basketball players, the people he'll be able to bring in to come and talk to these guys, you know, that's invaluable.
And what has been a nice synergy for somebody like a TC Taylor, who is homegrown in Mississippi, and was a part of the staff, now leads his alma mater, and trying to hit higher and higher heights.
And something you don't want to see right now, Lockhart is limping a little bit. I don't know what happened on that play.
Well, he did a solid job stepping in for Jacobian Morgan, who was knocked out of last game. It was Lockhart and Parker Stofa who got some action last week. Lockhart got the nod today, and they handed off to Travis Terrell as the starters stay in this one. And the running yards continuing to pile up for Jackson State. We mentioned Alabama A&M was 388 yards on the ground. That was a season high. Well, Jackson State approaching that as we speak. .486 total yards of offense, and a convincing win for Jackson State as T.C. Taylor on the road. First time the Tigers in Tallahassee in 70 years, and a statement made by the Tigers. 41-16 the final. Season high in rushes and rushing yards. They scored on 6 straight possessions, including 5 in the second half. Denario Davenport was a part of that, and Forrest, that second half was just a clinic from the Tigers.
Absolutely, and for Jackson State, you just have to continue to develop your young quarterback, Lockhart. You've got the rushing attack that will allow him to get better and better and better, and as he continues to get better and recognize what the defense is showing him, this offense becomes that much more unstoppable.
Well, now a 3-way tie atop the SWAC East after week 10. Jackson State, Alabama State, Bethune-Cookman, all at 4-1 in the conference. And the sonic boom of the South roaring loud and proud here in the capital city. Jackson State will prepare to sing the alma mater as there's a look at the SWAC East standings that we were just mentioning. So Florida A&M drops to 2-2, but that 3-way tie, and very interesting for the closing weeks of the conference and college football season. Well, it was Jackson State taking the strike out of the Rattlers here in Tallahassee. The Tigers dominated. T.C. Taylor's team comes out on top. For Forrest Connolly and the rest of our great crew, I'm Tiffany Green, letting you know that we out from the capital city of Florida, Tally-Ho, where Jackson State rolls over Florida A&M 41-16.